am an advocate for, if the door is open and I have an opportunity, that I'm going to bring some other women along.
So how this is going to work is that I'm going to ask you a couple questions to start, a little bit of background, and then I'll be able to open it up to the rest of the audience as well. So feel free to, if you have anything to say at all, just let me know. I'll hand the mic over. Not everybody has to speak as well, so just wherever you feel it fits. So first question, just a little bit of background. So what do you think being a woman in the tech industry really means to you, and what experiences do you have that support that?
Okay, I've been in tech for a long time, okay? And I must say that it has evolved. It's not where it should be. I don't think there's not enough women at the manager level enough. I think we all nodding here. But I do think it has improved. But I can remember where there was no other female when I first started out in my first couple of positions in a large IT organization. So I do think it's getting better, but I think part of it is building our pipeline and making sure women feel supported.
And in addition to that, I think it's our responsibility for those of us that are in this space to bring up some young girls so that we do saturate the industry and it looks a little bit different down the road.
I was going to say the same thing.
Perfect. So what do you think your biggest successes or your biggest learning opportunities have been within the industry?
So,
Until we work together.
so I think my biggest, you want the opportunities or the challenges?
Both. Just give a little bit of both.
All right,
Like,
so
we'd love to hear
the challenges have been far more memorable. And I think as a woman in this space, because it is a male-dominated industry, I think we have to prove ourselves above and beyond what our male counterparts have to do. And not only do we have to prove ourselves, we have to earn our keep, right? So as girls, we weren't raised to brag about how great of a job we're doing, right? I was raised in a faith-based home, and it was always, you just do good work and you'll be recognized for it. And what I'm finding is that's not so much the case. You meet a male IT leader in the elevator and you ask him how things are going, and the spin that he will put on it, you will think that he just saved the entire world. You ask us that and we're like, well, I'm kind of having a hard time. We will have done the exact same thing that he will have done, but we have problems articulating our value and our worth. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that I have seen for myself. And I'm not even there yet to where I am singing my own praises like I see some of my male counterparts doing. But I think we need to understand that it's okay to talk about the good work that you're doing. Like, it's okay to go into your feedback and say to your boss, look at the metrics, look at the tickets that my team has resolved over the past year, right? Look at what we have done. And I think we are challenged in that space.
So kind of building on that, in terms of one of the biggest learnings I had, it was actually in a seminar that I attended for executive women. And it's about having a seat at the table. A lot of times women, we have a little bit of a subservient approach to things. We have servants' hearts. We want to be polite. Not that you guys aren't polite, but but you can walk into a conference room and there'll be chairs around the table and then there'll be chairs along the wall. Who do you think typically takes the chairs along the wall? The women, because we're trying to be polite, we're trying to be nice. I've learned, no, I have a voice, I have something to say, I have something to contribute. I sit right there front and center. And so that was one of my biggest learnings that I actually got out of a seminar from executive women.
I have a couple things. I would echo what Melissa said a few minutes ago, too, about just not looking back and reflecting on the good work that we do in technology necessarily. I had an opportunity I think it was about a year and a half ago, I was awarded something, and I was given a few minutes to speak about, what it meant to me to win the award. And the very first thing that popped into my mind was, I'm so glad I won this award, because I would not have thought of all these amazing things if I hadn't been given this opportunity. Because as a woman, I think I just don't look and pat myself on the back and look back as much as I'm always looking forward. What's next? Where are we going? What's good? I just don't look back as much. So that's the first thing. And the other thing I'll say about challenging us is that I think that we really have to start looking for women to rise up to a different level of leadership within technology. So I don't have a technology background. I have a leadership background, and in my background, I have been in leadership for many, many years. Even right out of college, I was given a management job, and I managed people that were older than me. But I don't necessarily see us tapping as many women, or not us necessarily, but as a whole in technology, looking for those women and cultivating their leadership skills. And I do think that's something that companies should be focusing a little bit more on now.
And just to add, if I can just lean in and say, how many women in here plan the vacations in your home? Determine what your family's gonna eat? Really manage your, absolutely, we do this stuff naturally. So when we get into our day jobs, it's amazing how we wanna take a back seat when we naturally run things, right? So we need to rise to the occasion, not just in our homes, but in other spaces.
And she just, we can tell we know each other, right? But I happen to agree with that. And actually, I just had a talk at Black Knight, and we were talking about the same thing. Because, I think we're more likely to sit back. And I agree with what you said, Amy, that I've learned also that when we're in boardrooms, I take a seat at the table. I have something to say, and sometimes as women, we're our own worst enemy, because we'll sit back and let other people take the credit for something we've done, and I've learned to stop doing that too. And also doubting ourselves. And we're always gonna have doubt, but you know what? Fake it till you make it, okay?
We're much more critical of ourselves.
Yes, and so therefore we step back more. And so, we can have to stop. We can be scared on the inside, but we need to show a very confident air.
So you've mentioned the challenges, each and every one of you. Has there ever been a time where you faced a challenge and a male colleague has supported you or advocated for you in a certain way? Or if there was ever a time that you wish somebody had stepped up and said, hey, this isn't right, this is what we need to do?
Got the mic, I'll start. Okay. I have had one or two really great male figures that kind of, maybe pulled me to the side and said, hey, and I'll give you a point. In fact, when I came here as Dean of Technology for a little while, I was South Campus president for FSCJ. And I can remember, being in a completely different group of people, and someone pulling me aside and said, okay, you have great ideals, but for this group, you can't be the first to say it. Otherwise, you're never going to get it across. So we want you at the table, but you have to sit back a few, and maybe after the third, fourth person, and I don't think it was great advice, actually. I got a lot of stuff pushed through. But for some reason, whoever spoke first didn't get things pushed through. I don't know why. And so that was really great advice. But then I've had situations where I wish someone had said something, and I can remember going toe-to-toe with a male colleague that actually reported to me and had to take it all the way up to the presidency because I expected him to work 8 to 5, which is on his contract. He said I was harassing and haranguing him because he didn't understand that men had more things to do and he needs to leave early.
As she was speaking, I was reminded of a leader that told me, literally, after maybe a month of working with him, called me in and he said, I want to give you some really good feedback. I think you're sharp, kid is what he actually said. I'm almost 50, but I was a kid that day. He said, I think you're a sharp kid, but this is what I want you to do. I want you to play in the band more. Like, I don't want you to do a solo act in the meetings. Like, you're talking more than most of the other people in the room. Well, the other people in the room were all men, typically. But he said, I want you to like, the drummer just can't outshine the person that's singing so that we can't hear him. And I just want you to play a little lower in the band. And it bothered me. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you. Literally, like, I would go silent in meetings then, right? And leave really, and anybody know me, if I'm silent in a meeting, y'all probably should call 911. But anyway, I was so uncomfortable. I was so unhappy. I'm like, this is never going to work for me. But what he was really telling me is to be a better listener, right? And that was great advice for me because, I've diagnosed myself with ADHD and that, like, stuff is just going on in it's a whole war right now sitting on the stage going on in my head, right? And so I have to bring myself back sometimes. Like right now, I'm wondering why like 7 of my employees are here and who's answering the tickets and stuff at the office, like right now. But so what he was really saying was just take a step back and listen. I know you got great answers. I know you feel like you can solve this problem, but you should do a better job of listening. And as a leader, that probably was the first time that somebody had really said to me, take a step back and listen more. And it was the best advice I could have gotten.
Well, question, did you take it as because you were a female that he was giving you that feedback?
I did initially because we really hadn't established rapport yet, right? So I was newly reporting to him. He turned out to be the best boss that I've ever had, like literally promoted me up, and we could have these like conversations where I'm like, no, that's some crap. That ain't what we need to do, just me and him. So he was giving me advice that would help me grow. And at the time, I just wasn't in a place where I could receive it because I felt like he was attacking me. But it was great advice.